we need to be responsible, and we have to protect this planet. The sustainability should be on top of everyone's agenda. It is on top of the Saudi government agenda. We have launched this Saudi Green Initiative. We have a conference in Sharm el-Sheikh in the 11th and 12th that talks about sustainability, and sustainability, as my colleague said, social, environment, and economic sustainability. For sustainability is important. Connectivity is also important. We need to connect the countries and the islands who really need tourism and relies on tourism a lot in fighting poverty. The number one goal in the UN sustainability is fighting poverty, and therefore we have to make sure that we create jobs in the villages, we create jobs for women and for youth.
Very clear. Thank you very much indeed, Minister of Croatia.
I would completely agree that we have to preserve the planet and everything that is environmentally, but as we said in the beginning, local community. If we don't have a satisfied local community with the development of tourism sector, then we cannot speak about the development of tourist sector. So if we include the local community in all of the things that are happening in the tourism sector, all of the developments, all of the plans we plan to do as a government, as people who are involved in the whole of tourist sector, then we can say that we have good tourism goal and good sustainable development. That is what I meant when I said balance with our three pillars.
Yeah.
One pillar cannot go without the other. So local community in the first place.
Thank you. A stool stands on three legs. Thank you very much indeed, Deputy Minister of Tourism.
Thank you.
Maldives, I was going to say, yes.
For us in Maldives, I would say rethinking tourism would be diversifying our tourism. Especially, Maldives has been one of the premium destinations for the past 40 years, I would say. This year we're celebrating our 50th year. Only in 2010 we introduced, I would say, domestic tourism. So now we are trying to diversify our tourism, to bring tourism to the people, to bring tourism in local islands where they can have their own hotel and they can all benefit from tourism. That's it.
Very much. So domestic tourism, major change, priority amongst all the priorities, Minister of Egypt.
Well, in 1 minute, actually, there are 2 or 3 things that are occupying my mind every day. How technology is going to change our industry, and how can I get the global investors and local investors to benefit from the trillion of Egyptian pounds that the government has spent on infrastructure over the past few years to benefit from the improved environment for investments. And the third is actually how to make all of this come together to create jobs and offer the right experience for the customers, for the visitors.
Thank you, fantastic. Mexico.
Yes, the domestic tourism is the key bone of this great activity. In Mexico, it represents 78%. Just in 2019, we had 258 million travelers around Mexico, domestic tourism. So those people, 120 use the hotel services. So don't forget the domestic one, because that's one of the most important. Anytime that we have any problem, I always say to my colleagues, the hotel managers, don't forget the domestic tourism, because it's always the key bone of this great activity. And all the countries are beautiful, so we have to be happy to be here again without pandemic.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Very interesting. Minister Kikilias from Greece, you seem to have had a gender change, but
Yes.
there you go, yes.
I'm the General Secretary for Tourism Policy and Development of Greece, representing our minister. In terms of rethinking tourism, I would like to use a Greek word. We believe that tourism is not just a sector. Tourism lies at the epicenter of all sectors that transcend governments, economies, countries. So in this respect, I believe we should all rethink tourism and, of course, sustainability, digitalization and education, upskilling and reskilling, not only of the people working in tourism, but of all our citizens. That is how tourism can play its role correctly, we believe. Thank you very much.
Excellent, thank you. Fatima El Serafi from Bahrain. what one major change when rethinking tourism?
Thank you, Zainab. I think that I really believe that one of the key roles governments has to play is to make sure that the country is resilient when it comes to future shocks. So one of the major tools of doing that is to make sure that there are the correct policies, the correct legislations in place for government and the private sector to excel when it comes to tourism, as well as never underestimating the power that the human capital has to develop tourism further.
Thank you so much. Rita Marquez from Portugal.
Well, first of all, I think our main priority should be value people that work in the industry. We talk a lot about, having more guests, more tourists, and we forgot the ones that deliver the service. We have to value them, meaning that we have to train them, we have to pay them more, and this is important because sometimes, there is a huge gap when you talk about salaries in the industry. We have to give them the conditions to put professional and personal life at the same, I would say, give them, a right balance, and sometimes this is really tricky part of the equation, especially in the tourism industry, where we have to, be there available 35 days a week, 24 hours days. So I would say that my biggest priority right now, because the numbers are going up, is to nurture those that work in the industry and try to train them and make them happy, because industry of tourism is about happiness, not only for the tourists but also for the ones that work in the industry.
As the Minister Malawi said, you've got to get that balancing act right. So part minister, part circus performer. Niels Olsen from Ecuador, your closing remarks.
Well, our priority is using tourism as a vehicle for conservation and development. So for me, I think it's not only enough to talk about sustainability, but also talk about regenerative tourism. So we leave destinations better off than they were before, especially after the inflection of the pandemic. In Ecuador, we have increased over 60% the protected areas. We just launched a new safe corridor that goes from the Galapagos Islands to Costa Rica. So this was an amazing partnership with Panama, Costa Rica, Colombia, and Ecuador. So yes, using tourism as a vehicle for conservation and development, and focusing on regenerative tourism after the pandemic.
Interesting, thank you. And Mauritius Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, your final thought, please, on your priority.
Well, again, I think COVID made of tourism a problem. Let's make of it a solution, and let's make that solution relevant to all the main challenges of our troubled times. Let's act together, let's act now.
Thank you so much. So, Zurab, Secretary General of the World Tourism Organization, I could sit here and try and bring all these strands together that we've listened to, but you are far better than I at doing that, much more experience and knowledge and expertise. So what did you make of our conversations today? Do you think we've advanced the agenda for rethinking tourism?
Yes, first of all, I want to thank to all participants for their leadership, for their very interesting ideas. This is the next series of our meetings, and all remarks are noted. This is our job, to collect these free of charge brilliant ideas and from leaders from all over the world, and to continue thinking why we are rethinking tourism today. Because sector changed itself after COVID. Imagine that big markets like China, now Russia, they're close. Mentality of tourists, it's changed. The stay of this, numbers are changing, and that's why we have to rethink tourism. It was mentioned many times that domestic tourism, we announced year of rural tourism 2 months before pandemic started. It was intuition. We didn't know that COVID will start. And we started to think about best villages program. Future is in regions, and future is in regional development. And it's like it goes complex. Regional development, people, they need education, they need investments, they need innovation. And why regional development? Because the tourism is the best opportunity and recipe to create new jobs. Our job is always will be to create new jobs. And you will hear many times, next month, next week, next year, from me, education. Education is top one priority. There is a huge demand in education. There is a huge space to invest, And I would say that most important, to sum up today's meeting, I will not repeat the ideas that was mentioned here. We have to invest in tourism. This is best investment today. Look, the countries like Saudi Arabia is investing in tourism. Tourism became one of the biggest driver of the economies for many countries. And second, the best investment is to invest in education. This is very clear, and this will be our message always, and we have to concentrate on it. And I'm sure that with good knowledge, with good education, to support youth, to attract them on the board. So this is another our challenge, and again, very thankful for this important discussion. We will continue this series of discussion. Thanks to you, Zeynep, for your fantastic leadership, and
thank you very much indeed. Yes, I'm mindful that I have to finish on time, 12:40. Thank you very much indeed, Secretary General. Thank you to all my ministers and all of you who also spoke in the back. And thank you to my wonderful audience here. It's been terrific being with you. Have a good rest of the discussions and so on. I want to visit all your countries, those I've not been to. Safe travels and goodbye from me. Thank you. Thank you so much.